Did you know Gen Z and millennials are actually leading the return to church? New research from the State of the Church 2025 initiative shows they're going more often than older generations. Pretty wild, right? The research is provided by Barna and Glue. That's GLOO. Glue is all about helping pastors and leaders by connecting the faith ecosystem with the latest research, tech, and even values-aligned AI. It's high tech for a higher purpose. Check it out for yourself. Just text JOIN to 46816. Again, that's JOIN to 46816.
Life Audio. Welcome to the Untangling Prayer Podcast. I'm Rachel Wojo, and each week we unravel life's knots through prayer. Here you'll find practical wisdom and prayer encouragement to guide you through life's hardest seasons. Join me as we untangle life's messes together, one prayer at a time. Welcome to the Untangling Prayer Podcast with Rachel Wojo, and I'm so glad that you joined me today. I have a special guest, and normally I tell you that my special guests are my friends, but that is not quite the case with this special guest. I am honored today to have HGTV's Jenny Mars joining me today. And Jenny and I have a connection really through her show. I watched Fix Her to Fabulous several years ago, and I just remember there being so much light and love and joy in what Dave and Jenny do and the way they transform houses into homes. And I just thought, man, they must know Jesus. So when her new book published this year, Trust God, Love People, this fall, I could not wait to get my hands on it. And I pre-ordered it. And I just read it in 3 evenings. It's so precious. So Jenny, thank you for being with me today. And would you just share a little bit of who you are and what you do? I described it from my side of the world, but I'm sure you can give everyone a better idea.
Oh, no, that was perfect. Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad you liked the book. My name's Jenny. I live in Arkansas, in the northwest corner of Arkansas, with my husband Dave and our 5 kids. And we have a blueberry farm here next to our property that we have it's a U-pick farm where we donate the proceeds. We have a trade school in Zimbabwe. And so the proceeds from our farm benefit the school there. We have the HGTV show. We just are about to finish filming, hopefully in a couple weeks, mid-December. I'm not sure when this airs, but we're about to finish filming season 7 of our show. We filmed with it. I can't remember exactly where it fell in the line, but somewhere in this season was our 100th episode. And this season will start airing on December 2nd. So it comes on Tuesday nights on HGTV at 8, I think, 7 Central. So we'll have the new season will start airing December 2nd. I just launched my book last month. That was just a fun process to write down just stories of God's faithfulness in our family and in my life. And it's been the biggest gift of it has been my kids reading it. And my daughter Charlotte said it's the best book she's ever read. And and she said, even if you weren't my mom, it would still be the best book I've ever read. And I was like, oh, so that was like the best compliment I could get. So yeah, thanks for having me.
That is so precious. Don't you love our kids? I have a little note from one of my girls that said, Mom, you are the best author ever. The best. I mean it. It's like she was trying to convince me.
Yes, I mean it. You're like, thank you.
That is so sweet. So sweet. I got to chapter 7 in your book, and the title of the chapter was Bold Prayer. And I was just like, oh man, what a story. Would you share just a little bit of that story so that our listeners can get an idea of how much prayer really means to you?
Sure. That chapter is about the prayer. We were in the process of adopting our daughter, Sylvie, from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I just felt the Lord lay on my heart a specific time frame. And I thought that meant that she was going to be coming home at that time, because it was just, anybody who has adopted internationally understands that it is not a easy process. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of delays, it's just kind of a mess. It's hard. It's also just a spiritual battle, I think, more than anything. And that goes for adoption in general. But I had this time frame on my mind, and I thought she was coming home. I kept telling our adoption agency, I was like, she's coming home in June. And they said, that's impossible, because we had all these steps to follow. You had to go to court. You had to do all these things. And I was like, okay, well, it can happen. It can happen. And then right before, when we got to one of the steps, basically it was impossible. There was no way it could happen. And she was still living in her orphanage at the time, which we later visited after she was legal. At that point, she was not legally our daughter. We were still in process. When she was legally our daughter, we visited that orphanage that she had lived in, and the conditions were just awful. Just as like the worst you can imagine. And we knew she wasn't being fed. We knew there weren't adults there regularly. The kids basically took care of themselves, all those things. She was sick, very sick. And so I just kept praying she had to get home, because day to day at that point, we didn't know. I mean, honestly, we were fearful for her life. And so one night I felt I'd been praying this. And one night I just felt this sense of gripping fear in the night. I woke up and I don't even know how else to describe it, but it was a spiritual battle. And I felt somebody like holding my neck, and I woke up and I was like, I couldn't breathe, and just started praying. And then I checked my phone, and right in the moment that I had woken up, I had a message from one of our Congolese friends. Her name's Laura. And she was able to convince Sylvie's orphanage director that she would be able to foster Sylvie. So she was able to get her out of the orphanage. And it was very much a spiritual battle, because the orphanage director did not want her to go, because that meant she would be losing the money that was coming with her every month. Even though we said, we'll still send the money. We don't care about that. We just want her out where she's safe. And so she was able to go and live with Laura. And for the next year, she lived with Laura. And so we knew she was safe, and we knew she was being fed and cared for as much as possible. I mean, Laura ended up taking in I can't even remember now. She had 6 kids of her own, and then she took in maybe 10 to 14 more kids. So anyway, the Lord answered that prayer in a way that I hadn't expected. And it wasn't that she was in my home, but she was in Laura's home, and I could call her and FaceTime her all the time. We could send her gifts. We could visit her, all of the things that we were wanting to do that we weren't able to do when she was in the orphanage. So it was an answer to that prayer in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. And sometimes when God doesn't answer the way we want him to, it's hard to see those positives, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to stomp your foot and go, but I wanted her home. And I've been through that so many times in my own life. Your subtitle of your book is about open-handed faith. And I just wanted you to share a little bit about what living with open hands means to you, especially when it's hard, because your stories throughout this book really show that open-handed faith.
Yeah, thank you. We actually went back and forth a lot on the subtitle with my editor. I really wanted it to be living with open-handed faith. And she was like, I just don't know if that's really clear. People will know what that means. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm like, okay, good. It did. It resonated. But it's really the idea of releasing control and surrendering to God's plans, because at the end of the day, his plans are better than our, plans. And I don't do it perfectly. I'm always trying to plan. I'm sitting here today, office day. I'm sitting here with the calendar trying to corral my schedule, Dave's schedule, and our 5 kids' schedules, and it's chaos. And I'm trying to, manipulate all the plans, but it's the idea of saying, okay, even in this day, like, Lord, I have so much to get done, but show me what the priorities are. Show me what is not a priority, what I can push away off my plate, even if it's just for now. Really approaching everything we do in life from a eternal perspective. And I think when we do that, we can find not just the big things, but the little things. Like if we really do pray to surrender our time to the Lord, that he will show us, even just, we'll be walking down the street and we can get, someone will stop us to talk to us. And if we aren't really aware, we can miss those really sweet moments. There's so many little moments I'm sure we've all experienced that we're like, oh, I'm so glad I made time for that. I didn't have the time for that, but I made the margin for that, whatever that experience was to happen. And whether it, was a benefit to me or to that person, regardless, it's just the idea of really surrendering our plans, our control, each of our days, our big plans and our little plans.
What if you could be the first to know what's happening at the intersection of AI and ministry? The newest tech, trending cultural shifts, breakthrough research, all without spending hours digging for it. That's why we created the Glue Feed, a free weekly text that keeps ministry leaders informed, inspired, and ahead of the curve. Join over 30,000 pastors and leaders getting updates from voices like Carrie Newhoff and insights from Barna's latest research, all filtered for what really matters. No cost, no noise. To see the latest research, text the word JOIN to 46816. Again, that's JOIN to 46816.
Yeah. I think the subtitle, Stories of My Open-Handed Faith, invokes a curiosity. Like, what does that really mean? So then it makes you want to dive into, when I think about the subtitle, I think, well, a lot of times we just want to hold on and clench our fists around whatever it is that God is doing, or the way we see our own lives, or the way we want the future to go, or, XYZ, whatever it is. And just releasing that and having an open palm, I think evokes a lot of curiosity and a lot of intrigue with how God just there's a mystery about him that we will never fully understand. But when we embrace what we do know, what we can trust in his character, it's a beautiful thing. And your and Dave's life and the stories that you share in this book really reflect that. And it's super sweet. That's why I devoured it in 3 evenings. I was thinking about one part of your title is Trust God and Love People. Mm-hmm. And loving people can be really hard and exhausting. And then how do you know when to say yes and when to say no? I mean, you're talking about your own family and your own timing right now. So I just thought I would ask, how do you balance saying yes to people without losing yourself or your family in the process?
Yeah, I think, as I get older and as the kids get older, I have a lot of boundaries on our time and our schedule. Even, when we're creating our production calendar, it's very much built around our kids' schedule and things that our kids have going on. And we make sure to create time for us for vacation and to visit family and all of those things. We have to build those in because those are like the most important foundational layer of our schedule. And I think that loving people doesn't mean that you're available to everyone. And you have to protect your own resource of energy and time. Like that's just a reality. So it doesn't mean saying yes to every invitation or everything. There's a lot of things that I have to say no to, even though they're really good things. And I would love to do them, or I'd love to go and, go to this event and do this or whatever, but I don't have the bandwidth for all of it. And I think that's okay. I think it's the discerning what to say yes to and what not to. And I think for us, for our family, we have just sort of like our family values, things that are important. So like Sundays are for church. The way we have our church set up on the 5th Sunday of the month, if there is a 5th Sunday, we don't have church service. We just have a rest day. So we stay home and we sleep in, and everybody just kind of does, go for a walk or whatever that looks like. So it's been that's kind of a extra little Sabbath built in. But Sunday is a day of like trying really to rest, not working. And then, like I said, the kids' activities and all of that are the foundation things that I say, sorry, that's first and foremost. In terms of the other kind of piece of that is that loving people means really having relationships with people. It's not, it's something that's really important to Dave and I, is for our kids to really be exposed to all sorts of people, all sorts of cultures. different beliefs, different lifestyles, all of that. I mean, just making sure that we're not just staying in our bubble, which can be really easy to do. And for us, that means we really do have like people around our table from all over the world, or that really look different, or believe different, or act different, or whatever that looks like. We have them over for dinner, and we have friends that you wouldn't like, they don't necessarily line up with our beliefs and our all of the things, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's not our responsibility to decide what's right and what's wrong. We're just supposed to love. Yes, we can point to people, obviously we are called to holiness, and we are called to, if there's something someone's doing, like if somebody did something really, really bad, I would tell them, no, don't do that. But really, I don't feel like it's my job to judge them. I just can love them, and I can show them what the love of Jesus looks like. And then I can plant a seed, but God has to do the rest. I'm not in charge of someone else's salvation. And I think that is a bit of a freedom as well, because it gives you an opportunity to sit with people like Jesus did that are different from you. And you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to convert them. Like I think we have sort of this American way of thinking of Christianity that we're like, we have to, go evangelize. And I think you can love someone and show them Jesus through your actions and through the way that you create relationship and get to know one another. And we've had so many just fruitful, amazing conversations with friends around the world. I mean, we've sat around tables in so many different places with people that we've created deep relationships with, who have asked us, like, wait, what, like, who is this Jesus? Like, what is this light that you guys have? Like, they've asked these questions. We've had these really rich spiritual conversations with people that have had been scarred by, religion or family or trauma from past experiences. And so I think that idea of relationship is really important. And it doesn't mean, again, that you have to like say yes to everybody and everything, but really building relationships and sitting around a table, because I just feel like our world is so divisive. And if you're behind a computer screen all day trying to convince someone of something, you're not going to. But have them over for dinner, and you guys get to know each other and ask questions and find out, each other's stories. And I think stories are so important. So that to me is a way of really loving people well.
And what you just described is really the life that Jesus lived when he was here. Yeah. Eating meals with people and sitting around the table with them and telling stories, whether it was personally or in, a small group setting or a larger setting. He told stories. So I think that is a reflection of your book and what you shared in it. I wondered if Dave helps you. I think this is maybe the last more personal question I'll ask you, but how do you and Dave help each other maintain those boundaries around, where you go, what you do, how you spend your time, and, even the loving people part, because it can be hard to choose when to have someone in your home, when not to, when to involve your children and when not to. So how do you help yourselves between each other keep that boundary and recognize when to and when not to?
I think we just do a really good job of, if one of us, I can think of an example. A couple weeks ago, Dave had scheduled, we have a new pastor that came. We have a very, very small little church in our barn, and we're like, we didn't even mean to start a church, and we started a church on accident. But now we had our friend was our pastor, and he's like, I need to retire. So we actually hired someone, which feels like a big deal. And we're like, oh gosh, I think we're really a church. But anyway, he and his family moved here, and Dave, we were trying to coordinate. Our schedules have been really, really crazy the past couple months. And we were trying to coordinate a night to have them over for dinner. And Dave coordinated it with him, like, okay, great, it's on the calendar. Well, then my grandma passed away, and there was like a slew of things that happened. And I was just, that day, it was on a Tuesday, they were coming over, and I was just so exhausted. I was like, Dave, we have to cancel. I can't do it. I have nothing left. I literally can't do it. And he's like, well, we can't, let's just, it's okay. Just have them over. And normally, if I really was like, I feel like normally he'd say, okay, let's cancel. I don't know why he didn't on that particular day, but he just said, no, let's just have them over. And I was like, okay. And they got there and we just had like the most awesome dinner. Our kids got along, like had so much fun, and we got to have this it was such a vulnerable time together because I was just exhausted. It wasn't like I'm putting on like, oh, a hostess face. I was like, hey guys, I'm so tired. I've been crying all day. Welcome to our hot mess press, And I think sometimes that's actually the better scenario for someone coming on. Not that you want to come over to someone's mess, but you're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one.
They're real. Yeah.
They're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Let's just talk about it. Let's support one another. And we ended up having this wonderful evening and great conversation. And it really ended up filling my soul and my bucket in a way that I hadn't expected because I was just so depleted at that moment. So there's things like that happen where there are times where it's like, no, we need to just stay home, because that happens a lot too, where we're like, let's just stay home as a family. And we really do kind of hunker down as a family with the kids, where if we notice something's off with one of the kiddos or we've been traveling or games or all the things, we notice like, we just need a night at home, like low key, and you just kind of have to gauge that, especially now for us, we have teenagers down to a 6-year-old. So it's a lot of emotions and things. So we're constantly trying to navigate, okay, what do we do? But we do, I feel like, do a pretty good job of balancing one another. Like if one of us is really like low on the energy, like the other one comes in and is like, okay, I'm taking over, go. Like Dave, a lot of times, like, Dave's like, go take a bath, I'll make dinner, So I feel like we do a good job of partnering and managing all the things, especially because we work together all day and we both know. I think the benefit of working together is we both really understand the demands of our day and the demands of our job, which are very unique. And I think if one of us wasn't doing this job, the other one wouldn't be able to understand the way that we can, So I think that is actually very helpful. A lot of people are like, how can you guys work together? I'm like, actually, it's really helpful because we both can get it. Like, I'm done. This is my energy spent. I'm depleted. I can't talk anymore. I can't interact with anyone. We understand. So it actually is a really good, I think, balance and partnership.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
I think it sounds like you just both have your finger on the pulse of how each other respond to things. And then you know each other so well, you know the needs of one another. I think it's interesting. Every week, I'm not a real big people person. And every week when we host small group, I tell my husband, I really don't want to do this. But then when everyone leaves, I'm like, I'm so glad we did that. So I feel you. And he would probably feel Dave on that one too. I am so honored that you would take a few minutes to chat with us about your new beautiful book, Trust God, Love People, Stories of My Open-Handed Faith. Would you close us with just sharing what you're praying for right now and how how you're praying for the people who read this book? What is it that you want them to really receive from it? Because I know from an author's standpoint, you don't just write the book for fun or because the opportunity's there. You really want people to receive it and be able to act on it and it to mean something. So would you share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. I think all along I know throughout the whole process of writing, and I'm sure you understand this, I prayed throughout, like, just, Lord, which stories do you want me to tell? And then Holy Spirit, give me the words, because in my own strength, I know I could not have done it, especially with pressures and all the things and just carving the time. Like, I look back and even just being able to write the book in just itself, it was definitely God's hand. So for me, it's what we talked about earlier, how stories are important. So I hope, my prayer is that my stories can encourage everyone who reads the book to look back on their own life and to reflect on their own stories and to see God's hand. Because as I was writing it, there were so many times when I would be like, oh, it was like aha moments left and right of like, oh God, now I see what you were doing 10 years ago. I see how that you wove all of those things together in a beautiful way that at the time I couldn't see. So the the thing about it is you have to take the time to remember and reflect. And God tells us to do that so many times in scripture. I talk about it in the book, but he tells us to remember, tells us to celebrate. And I think that's really, really important, because if we don't remember what he's done in our past, how can we trust him with our present? And how can we trust him and walk in faith for our future? And how can we live open-handedly? We can't, because we don't have that firm foundation of trust. So my prayer has been that it will encourage people to look back on his faithfulness in their life, whether you write the stories down or whether you just reflect on them and think through them and thank God for them. It's really just a matter of like having that posture of gratitude. And I hope it's also encouraging, because regardless of where you are in your own story, whether you're in a season of waiting or a season of, mountaintop joyful things, abundance, or a really hard, dark season, like those seasons come and go. And I hope that my stories in the book can encourage you, like, okay, I keep turning the page. Like, there's going to be a new season. There's going to be a new day. Each day, fresh mercies each day. So I hope it's an encouragement for just everyone, regardless of whatever season you're in. And then also, it, again, just helps you to remember and reflect and really have your own firm foundation of God's faithfulness, so that you can trust him with your own.
And you provide a great tool at the end of the book too, that's included right in the book. It's this guided journal practice that really takes you on the journey of doing what you just shared. So anyone who's interested in saying, that would be a great ending, you provide the tool right at the end of the book. So that's pretty awesome. Jenny, thank you so much for being with us. Would you pray us out today?
Oh, sure. Lord, I just thank you for this time. I thank you that we have this freedom to be able to get on a computer and talk across the miles about you and your goodness and your faithfulness. I pray that this conversation is an encouragement to anyone who's listening. I pray specifically for every person listening today that they just receive you in a fresh way, that they see the world through your eyes, and that they can pause in this moment and take a breath and turn everything over to you, turn their day over to you, turn their future over to you and your faithfulness, and trust you well. And thank you for everything you do for us, Jesus. We love you. Amen.
Amen. Thanks so much for listening in to the Untangling Prayer podcast today. Until next time, I hope you know that God sees you, he hears you, and he knows your need. Thanks for joining me on the Untangling Prayer podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a little hope. And be sure to subscribe for more. Until next time, keep seeking, keep trusting, and keep praying.
Running out of time to find the perfect gift? Aura Frames makes it look like you planned it all along. Preload photos, add a message, and send it ready to display. A personal gift they'll love. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames using promo code LIFEAUDIO at checkout. Don't forget to mention Life Audio Network at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.